Hello,
Vamos a hacer la...
welcome to Iguales y Diferentes podcast, Be Different, a podcast that we try to bring different speakers in order to talk about mental health, education, and in this case, girls' education. So we have Gabriela with us. Welcome, Gabriela.
Hello, Felipe. Thank you very much. How are you
You
doing?
recently represented Iguales y Diferentes at the International Coalition of Girls' Schools Global Forum in Toronto, in Canada. For those who may not be familiar with the event, why is this conference such an important gathering for educators around the world?
Okay. Well, the conference is really a unique event, I would say. It brings together educators, researchers, school leaders, and advocates who are passionate about teaching us. This year, there were lots of representatives from many countries, and it was an incredible opportunity to socialize, to listen to them, to learn from others. Um, for me, the greatest value of the conference was not only hearing from outstanding speakers, there were lots of outstanding speakers, but also having these meaningful conversations with educators who are all working towards the same goal, which is helping girls reach their full potential.
Mhm. And what do you think during these 3 days of presentations and conversations with educators from, as you said, more than 25 countries? What are the most significant messages you took away about the future? What's the future of girls' education? Is there any future? Because sometimes we listen to the news, for example, in the UK, in the United Kingdom, we see that some traditional girls' schools are closing. Or, for example, if we think about what's the future of, um, yeah, the same is happening, for example, in Korea, or what do you think?
Yeah. Well, regarding the future of girls' education, I would say that it is extremely important that schools work together with families, right? I mean, schools as a means of educating us, academically speaking, building resilience, facing them with technological advances and changes is wonderful, right? Including artificial intelligence. All that is wonderful. But we cannot leave families aside. I mean, it's a project that has to work together. Schools doing what they know very well how to do, which is basically giving academic instruction, and families um, helping girls in a way internalize all that schools are giving, right? Helping them also to become resilient, to know that they have a clear future, helping them know that they can do lots of things that in the past perhaps nobody expected them to do. So it's pair work, schools and families together, basically.
Yeah, I like this idea that you brought the idea of the family, and also many families are talking about, for example, an issue that concerns them, that is student well-being of girls, and mainly
Mhm.
anxiety, mental health. I think that these topics were discussed extensively during the conference. What concerns are schools facing around the world, and what practical strategies did experts recommend?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, mental health, I would say, was probably one of the strongest themes throughout the conference. The presenters shared some very concerning statistics about the increase of anxiety among adolescents, especially since the pandemic, and especially in high achieving schools, something that caught my attention. And during the conference, schools were encouraged to create environments where students feel connected and supported. Um, and again, schools working closely with families in this respect to integrate well-being into everyday school life, right? Um, not treating it as an extra program, but on the contrary, treating it as something that happens every day in every class and that adults should pay attention to. But the message was very hopeful, I would say. Anxiety is treatable, and schools can really make a positive difference regarding mental health.
Well, that's really encouraging listening to that because sometimes I've heard some families or some parents relate and correlate girls' education with anxiety. And I think it's really hopeful that, or really, yeah, it gives me a lot of hope to know that girls' schools are working together in these challenges. And I think that's those are good news because also working together with schools from all over the world and talking about these topics. Another issue that is in relation with mental health is social media and academic pressure. Um, because these two factors, social media and academic pressure, were identified as major contributors to anxiety among adolescent girls. How can schools and families work together to help girls thrive in this environment?
Yeah, basically, from what I heard, um, maintaining conversations with students and daughters, right? Making a point of maintaining conversations, as I said, all the time, and also helping us to get to know that it's not good at all to make comparisons, to compare themselves with others, or to fight for higher marks in comparison to other students. So, but it's basically a question of being near and listening to them, both at school and within the family.
Yeah, it's simple, right? It's a simple strategy,
Very simple.
but at the same
Very simple.
time, it seems that it's worth it and it's working, right? So the idea of human connection, relationship, and many of the schools that Iguales y Diferentes is working with, they already have some experience with this method of personalized education. So the idea of trying to arrive to each person through, as you were saying, um, one-to-one conversations with the student and also with the families. And um, I think that's like something that maybe it's done, but maybe it's not thought of how it is done, and maybe that could be another step, right? To think
Right.
a little bit more, right? And looking back on, so you also delivered your own session,
I
right,
did.
during the conference,
I did. Yeah.
and so the title was for the listeners to know, the title was what girls schools do differently and why it matters. So why it matters to have a girls schools, why it matters to have a school devoted only to girls. Why is that so important, and why do they exist? What was the main message you wanted participants to take away, and how it
Yeah,
was received? Because I've seen some pictures of your sessions and the participants, and there were more than 15 or well 10, 15
mhm,
participants in each session. So, and that's
exactly.
for those type of small sessions, that's a large number. What was the message you wanted to transmit?
Well, first of all, it was a real privilege to present at the conference. It was an amazing experience. My goal was basically to share some research on the distinctive contribution that girls' schools can make to students' development, not only academically, of course, also from the point of view of the social aspect and emotions, especially in girls. But I specifically wanted participants to think of the appropriate pedagogy that responds to students' needs and interests and learning styles. In this case, girls. But the comparison with boys was always present because it's impossible to think
Yeah.
of strategies for girls without comparing them with the strategies that we should use for boys. I was really delighted by the response of the participants after the session. I had several conversations with educators from different countries who had experienced the same experiences I had experienced in the past. But it was basically that. I mean, making them reflect on the importance of making a match between the teacher's teaching styles and the students' learning styles. In this case, girls' learning styles, right? But that is something that sometimes is disregarded or not taken into account. And I really believe that this is the basis for educating girls and boys. Thinking of their interests, their personal differences that are innate and that in class make a big difference when they are learning. So it was basically that.
Yeah. So, and also, mm, as you were saying now, right? So, some educators approach to you after the session in order to share with you that they were also in the same situation as you were, right? So, and that's,
Exactly.
I think that's really encouraging, right? So to listen and
Of
to talk
course.
with people that have your own experience, the same experience as you, in another context, because sometimes one may think that, for example, single sex education or girls education is something that only my school does in the whole world. So
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's amazing to see that when you share these matters with people from all around the world, that are common points that we're all worried about or that we are concerned about. So exactly, it's as you said, yeah,
and also very very diverse schools, right? So they were not mainly Catholic schools or
not at
mainly
all.
I don't know, schools in relation with I don't know, large traditional schools in Anglo-Saxon countries, but you also notice the diversity, right, of schools models.
Of course, the public was very, very diverse. And the good thing is that in the end, the message was how important is how important human beings are all the time, right? There is technology, there is AI, there are lots of new methods, but if there isn't a good teacher who has got good values and who instills those values in their students, we are not doing things very well, right? That was a common message all the time, right? Um, the tools, of course, are very important and we should use them, but we should never forget the human aspect of teachers and students. That was very positive and it was recurrent all the time. Even though, as you said, schools were very different, people came from different backgrounds. Um, that was it was the human value of human beings was rescued. So that was very
Yeah.
important to me.
And that's also I believe, I don't know what do you think, but I believe it's very consistent with the idea of how are we going to tackle down anxiety through
Of course.
conversation? How are we going to deal with academic pressure, human relations, and how relationship and building on the person, as you were saying, is like a common thread or has been a common thread throughout the whole conference, right? So
Throughout the conference.
yeah.
Yeah, that was very positive, very, very positive to hear that in almost all the speakers and the presenters. Yeah.
What would be your final final message that you would like to transmit? that could be like the final touch of this podcast, and also your personal takeaway of this conference in Toronto this past June of 2026.
Right. Well, first of all, as I said before, representing Iguales y Diferentes at the conference was both an honor and a deeply enriching experience. So I am very, very grateful for that. Um, and I came home feeling reassured, feeling that what I have been studying and dealing with for a long time was worth doing it, right?
Mhm.
And if there is one message that I like to leave, I would like to say that educating us is a shared responsibility. When schools and families work together, as I said before, when we value both excellence, academic excellence, and well-being, and when we continue learning from one another across countries and across cultures, we create the conditions to, I don't know, for every girl to discover her potential and to make a meaningful contribution to society. So it's basically that.
Yeah, yeah, and I think these final words are really resuming, no, summarizing the whole podcast and also the conference, that although it's impossible to summarize 3 days,
Yeah,
thousands
of
of
course.
conversations, millions of words that were flowing there in the whole conference in Toronto. It's true that the idea of this, the centrality of the person in education, and as you were saying, right, the cooperation between family, school, and the student, right? So, and the girl that is at the center, it's uh, it's a combination that maybe is obvious to some schools, but it's not so obvious. So the human relationship, and how are we going to go back to the origin, to be originals, and go back to the origin that is the person in these times of technological change,
Mm.
that we have been in this change for the last 50
Yeah,
years, but now with AI is like another one. So thank you very much,
exactly.
Gabriela. It has been a pleasure to talk with you, and I hope you have a great day.
Okay, thank you, Felipe. The same to you.